Okay, so let's jump right in and talk about a powerful new way of looking at our most challenging feelings. We're going to explore a kind of spiritual toolkit for handling two emotions that, let's be honest, can really get the best of us: fear and anger.
We're often taught that fear is just a weakness, right? And that anger is basically a sin. The message is to just suppress them, get rid of them. But what if that's a completely backward approach? What if these feelings are actually signals trying to tell us something really, really important?
So get this, from a neurological standpoint, what's happening in your body during fear and excitement is almost identical. I mean, the increased heart rate, the rush of adrenaline and cortisol, your senses going into overdrive. It's the same biological reaction. The only real difference is in your head. It's your interpretation. Do you see it as a threat or do you see it as a challenge?
Okay, so let's take that same idea and turn to anger. The emotion that often gets labeled as one of the deadly sins? Is it really just a destructive force we need to stamp out? Or is there maybe something else going on under the surface? Wow, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? It perfectly describes that feeling of being totally out of control, where all rational thought just gets blown out. But where does that intense reaction actually come from? What's really happening in our brains when we feel that flash of rage?
Well, here's where it gets really wild. Anger can actually be neurologically addictive. Seriously. Every time you get angry, your brain gets that hormonal rush. And over time, your brain can get so used to it that it starts building these little superhighways for anger. It becomes the default easy path to take.
And so, here's the crucial point. If you dig down beneath the surface of almost any angry outburst, you are going to find a wound. You're going to find hurt. It might be a feeling of injustice, or being disrespected, or just plain old pain. Anger is often just the bodyguard we hire to protect that vulnerable spot. So if our brains have these default pathways, these anger superhighways, are we just stuck with them? The answer is a huge no. We can actually change the wiring. And the secret isn't to just suppress the emotion, but to intentionally build a new road. And it all begins with a simple but profound conversation.
And this is how you do it. This is the practical rubber meets the road method. That first step, just pausing, it's like a circuit breaker. It stops that automatic knee-jerk reaction. And in that little bit of space you've just created, you can start building a new pathway by talking it out with God, asking for His view, and listening. You're literally carving a new neural pathway in real time.
Okay, theory is great, but what does this look like in a real, messy, everyday situation? Let's walk through the author's own story about a conflict with a campus leader. This is where we see this whole rewiring process in action.
Our emotional reactions almost always follow this exact path. Something happens, that's the event. That event triggers a belief we already hold. That belief creates an emotion, and that emotion drives us to an action. So let's fill in the blanks with this story.
So the event, the trigger, it seems pretty small. A text message comes in over the weekend from a campus leader asking her students to take on some extra work. It's a seemingly minor thing, but it landed right on a raw nerve. And boom, that text instantly lit up this powerful pre-existing belief. The thought wasn't just, oh, more work. It was a whole story, a judgment. This leader is unfair. He is taking advantage of my students. This is an injustice. So because the belief was this is an injustice, the emotion that came roaring up was this intense protective anger. This wasn't just being annoyed. This was a deep feeling that a moral line had been crossed, and she had to defend her people. And that anger led directly to the action, pushing back with a sharp, confrontational text. It was a pure, unfiltered reaction. And, as you can probably guess, it just created a lot of tension and didn't solve a thing. But here is the pivot point. This is where everything changes. By using that four-step process, by pausing and talking to God, that belief started to shift. The old, hot belief, he is harassing my students, started to cool down and get replaced with something new. Okay, wait. He's just trying to do his role. Maybe there's something here I don't see. And that small shift in belief changes absolutely everything. And this gets to the heart of it all. Our feelings aren't enemies we have to defeat. They're not flaws we have to get rid of. They're actually invitations. They're signals pointing to our deeper beliefs, to our hurts, and to our need for a perspective that's bigger than our own.
So let's just recap the big ideas. Number 1, tough emotions like fear and anger are signals, not sins. Number 2, the root of most anger is a deeper hurt or perceived injustice. 3, you can literally create new roads in your brain through this practice. And finally, number 4, changing your underlying belief is the absolute key to changing your emotional reaction. It's about shifting from being controlled by your feelings to partnering with God to understand them.
So as we finish up, I want to leave you with this question. What's one feeling in your life right now that you've been treating like a problem to be solved? What if it's not a problem at all? What if it's actually the start of a really important conversation? What is that emotion inviting you to see today?